Last month, I made £34,200 in my marketing agency selling AI solutions to local businesses, which equates into roughly about $46,300, give or take. Let me, in fact, actually refresh this page to show that these are real numbers and that I'm not faking anything. And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through how I am using extremely simple and extremely easy Facebook ads to close these clients and sign up for our AI solutions and recharge them anywhere between $15,000 to $20,000 a pop, and how you can pretty much do the exact same thing as well right after watching this video. And for context, you don't need to have a huge budget to start off running ads for your AI agency. You can start off by literally just spending $30 a day, which is exactly what I started off with as well. And like I said, in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything. We'll go ahead and pretty much create a couple of ad creatives together. We'll also go ahead and pretty much create the very first ad campaign on Facebook as well. So let's get right into it. The very first thing you obviously need to do is you have to get a couple of things prepared in regards to the actual setup before you're able to launch and earn your ads. The very first thing is obviously your actual ads manager itself. Now, I'm not going to explain in this video exactly how to go about creating one. If you don't have one, then just take a look at some of the YouTube videos out there. It's extremely simple. The other thing that you need to do is you have to create your actual irresistible marketing offer. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that you already know what AI solution to sell, but you also need to have an irresistible marketing offer created that you can actually use to running these ads, which in turn is going to actually decrease your cost per book call, because people are going to feel absolutely stupid not to book a call with you because of how much of an irresistible offer you essentially have. Now, I'm going to attach another video in the description right below this video that explains exactly how you can go ahead and actually create an irresistible marketing offer. But if I kind of like walk you through a quick glimpse when it comes down to that, you have to take a look at Facebook ads library and see and funnel hack other marketing agencies in your niche and in other niches as well, and see what type of offers they're running right now that are working really, really well for them. And the way how you can know if they are working really well for them is if they're running that specific ad for at least 2 weeks. And here's a couple of search terms that you can actually use in the Facebook ads library to see a bunch of agencies working within the same niche or other niches and actually having all sorts of different offers. So you want to funnel hack them, take note of what offers are working really well for them. Here's actually a couple examples of offers that I've seen working really, really well. And then you want to take note of it and then add your own spin to it by making, changing a couple of keywords here and there, and, maybe the timeline as to when you can get in that result and things like that. And then, of course, as well, hypothesize on what are the requirements for the client to have in order to be qualified for that actual offer. So like I said, I'm going to touch another video right below this video that explains much, much more in depth about how you can go about doing that. But that's the second thing you need, which is the actual irresistible offer. The third thing is you want to have a list of at least 500 plus leads of those local businesses in your actual niche. And you also want to make sure these are your ideal types of clients. Now, if you don't have a list of leads that you might have generated in the past through running ads, doing outreach, or maybe, booked calls, then I would recommend you to just simply go ahead and create an account on a platform called Apollo.io, where you can actually have all sorts of conditions put in place for qualification criteria, and then just simply export a list of at least 500 plus businesses within that niche that fit that criteria. So you can then use them to actually create lookalike audiences on Facebook, which especially in the very early stage are going to be, typically some of the absolute best performers from my experience, because you're pointing Facebook in the right direction, what types of clients you actually want. The other thing you want to do is you want to create between 3 to 4 ad graphics that you can actually use for running the ads. Here's a couple of examples that I've seen working really well. Here is one, here's another one, and here is another one. So you can pause the video and pretty much go ahead and create such ones on Canva as well. But the other thing you can also do is you can use ChatGPT to create multiple other variations of them as well. So with ChatGPT, come up with an idea of what type of an ad creative you want, for example, and then it's going to create the image. Now, in case if you don't know what ideas to come up with, then you can use a prompt similar to this, where you obviously go ahead and include like what exactly is your niche, what type of clients you want, and then you ask ChatGPT to come up with a couple of different concepts that you can take inspiration from. So here it finished off creating the concepts. I like this concept right here, the very first one with the handshake. So what I would do is I would ask ChatGPT to actually go ahead and create this image. So here it's starting to actually create the image. So here's an example of the image it went ahead and actually created. So what I would do is, this one seems pretty solid. I'm going to go ahead and download that, and I'm going to pop that into Canva. So we've got that in here, and what I'm gonna do now is I want to go ahead and add a box like that at the bottom, because at the very bottom what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and include more information about what the actual offer is. Now you wanna make sure that the image that ChatGPT creates for you is something that allows you to have a bit of space here at the bottom, so you can actually include the text here of your irresistible offer. Here, for example, for me, the sun is obviously cutting out a little bit, so I would obviously go back and forth a little bit with ChatGPT to perfect it. But nonetheless, you add the actual text here below of what the offer is. So here's an example, is the finished product of the image. You're ready to go with the irresistible offer right here. Now, I've obviously went ahead and created a couple more variations of this before this video, but these are a couple of examples as to how you can go about doing it using the templates that I showed you on Canva, and then as well you can go ahead and obviously use ChatGPT to come up with other concepts. The other thing that you want to do after that is you want to create your actual ad copy itself. Here's a template that you can use, call out your market here, tell them what the offer is and the timeline, and then explain how are you able to make such a strong promise. And the way how we really do that is by explaining exactly how you actually go about doing your service. And then the second part right here will be to actually include some case studies and results. Now, if you don't have any, then obviously skip that part, and then at the bottom have the actual market call out once again with the actual offer. Here's the one that I made before this video, so you can see an actual visual overview of how this looks like without any case studies being mentioned as an example. And then really the last thing we're gonna do afterwards is obviously set up your Facebook pixel as well, so it tracks all the data on landing page. And in this video, I'm not going to explain exactly how to set up the pixel. Assume that you already have one created. If you don't, then you can take a look at another YouTube video on how to actually do it. Next, you want to go ahead and actually pop yourself into the actual ads manager on Facebook and create the actual ad. Now, there's a couple of different objectives that Facebook is going to allow you to choose from. Now, for us, obviously, we want to generate leads. That's how we are going to choose leads. And then after that, you just simply click on continue. Once it's done, right here, you want to include the actual name of the campaign. What I usually like to start off with is by naming it as P1, which stands for phase 1. And then right here, actually include the name of the offer that you're going to be running. So for me, here's the offer that I'm going to run, 100 appointments in 30 days on the pay-per appointment model. So that's the way how I want to name this actual campaign. And then right here below, you want to choose the ad set budget. Don't use campaign budget in the very beginning. Ad set budget is what I recommend, because I want to allocate a specific budget per each single ad set within that campaign to test different ads, see what works and what doesn't. Once you've done that, then just simply click on next. And here you are going to be in the actual ad set level where you are going to choose your targeting and a couple of different other options. The very first thing is obviously the ad set name. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. But the other thing is the conversion mechanism. So you have a couple of different options how you want to capture the lead. You can use the website, you can use the instant forms, you can use Messenger, etc., etc. In the very beginning, I recommend to use instant forms itself. Reason being is because it's going to make it relatively easy for your leads to actually fill out the form and send their information, which means that you will actually get more leads for your budget. Your cost per lead is going to be cheaper. And then eventually, once you have obviously gotten to a point where you're spending a little bit more money, then you can obviously go ahead and test out with the website schedule event instead. But start off with instant forms itself. Then obviously right here below, go ahead and actually choose your actual Facebook page. As the performance goal, make sure that it is chosen as maximized number of leads, because that's one thing in the very beginning. Get as many leads as physically possible. Cost per result, keep it as a none, because we want to optimize Facebook by themselves, whatever they think is going to be the best cost per lead for you. Dynamic creative, keep this as off for the current moment, and then go right here below to actually include what is going to be the actual daily budget. Now, this is going to depend on what is your actual budget itself that you can be running these ads at. But if you have anywhere between 10 to 50 bucks a day that you can invest, then I would recommend you to have a budget of $10 a day per each single ad set. If you have a budget of $100 per day or more, then I recommend to have 20 bucks a day per each single ad set. Now, the reason why I recommend these daily spend figures is because depending on industry, your average cost per lead could be 15, 20 bucks. So let's say if you go below 10 bucks a day per each ad set in daily spend, let's say you do 5 bucks a day, then you might literally have to let the ad set run for 4 days before it generates one single lead. But if you let it running at 10 bucks a day, then it takes just 2 days, and that's where the lead comes in. Now, the cost per lead is going to differ obviously depending on the industry. For some it's higher, for some it's lower. But if you have anywhere between 10 to 50 bucks a day that you can invest, then I would recommend 10 bucks a day. So we put that in right here, 10 bucks a day. And then we scroll down, and here down below, I like to click on this button that says further limit the reach of your ads and click on switch setup. Now Facebook is always going to tell you that, because of this, you will get less performance for the amount of money that you're spending, but that's not necessarily the truth, because especially in the very beginning on a brand new ad account, if you haven't really run too many ads, or if you have just run a couple of them, then you kind of need to do your job to actually point Facebook in the right direction. And in the very beginning, they kind of don't really know what is the right direction. So that's why I go ahead and pretty much choose this as switch the setup. So I have a little bit more control based on what the targeting is going to be. And then right here, you want to include the actual country itself. So, for most of you, it's probably going to be the US. So use the US. But of course, if you are looking to get your clients from elsewhere, then choose that country instead. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna do United States. Then the age range. So this is going to depend on your actual niche. So for example, with us, we work lawyers, we go anywhere between 28 years old to about 60-year-olds. Sometimes for some assets, we might go a little bit above 60. But the reason why we do between 28 to 60 is because, usually people that are going to be 28-year-olds are going to be the ones that will actually start their own law firm after they graduate and, work at some law firm for quite some time. And then, of course, a lot of our clients also are going to be a little bit older folks. So that's why we keep running ads at even sometimes at 65 years old. So you want to look at what is your typical demographic for your ideal clients and then go ahead and choose that. Usually the, industry averages across multiple niches could be anywhere between 22 up until about 55-ish-year-olds. But you want to obviously test this out, see what works the best for you, and also pretty much go ahead and look at your demographic in general. And of course, you can leave this button on, use as a suggestion, because if Facebook is going to see that, another age range is going to work really well, then you give them the freedom to do that as well. Genders, you can optimize this depending if you want to be targeting men or women. I typically leave that as all because I don't really care, as long as they are a male or a female that wants to get some, results, then they are welcome essentially. And so the next feature that you're going to see here is custom audiences and detailed targeting. Now with custom audiences, this is actually where you can include your lookalikes. So that list that I recommended you previously to make with Apollo or whatever list you might have, you can actually use it to create lookalike audiences, and you can actually go in and target them here. I'll walk you through that here in a minute. But the other option is you can use detailed targeting, which means that you essentially would go ahead and use interest targeting to point Facebook in the right direction. So for the sake of this video, my niche that I will, for example, run here is roofers, because those are the ad creatives that I made right here for this particular video. So what I would do is I would search up some specific keywords based on that essentially. For example, roofing contractor, and then I can click on browse and it's going to show me other relevant interests for this specific keyword. Okay, so you see there is roof, architecture, renovation, home construction, etc., etc. I would recommend to just have one specific interest per each ad set, so you can test out different interests, and then you can actually know which one specific is working really well, as opposed to you stacking one of them into one specific ad right here. And of course, you can also keep this as user suggestion, so that you give the freedom to Facebook to go ahead and pretty much go outside of this targeting a little bit if it feels that it's going to improve the performance. And the languages, I usually just go ahead and use English US if I'm going to be running ads in the States. And that is pretty much about it when it comes down to the ad set level. You can also go ahead and obviously create lookalike audiences to include them here as well, but I'm going to explain to you how to do that in a minute. But the last thing right here as well is that you have placements to choose from. I recommend you to just keep everything as all, so that you give as much freedom to Facebook to optimize for whichever placement it thinks is going to work the absolute best. But the last thing right here as well, the very top, you want to name your ad set. So the way how I usually do it is I use the actual targeting itself that I've chosen here. So for example, for me, it's a roofing contractor. So I'll put that here. And then I'm also going to go and include a little bit more information about what else is here in the specific ad set. So for example, for here in the US, and then as well 22 to 55-year-olds. So I'm going to say US 22 to 55-year-olds, right, like this. So this way, when I'm looking on the ad set level, in the dashboard itself, I can look at the name of the ads and I can know right away what is this one specifically targeting. After this, you want to click on next, and now you're going to be in the actual ad level. So this is where you will have to go ahead and create the actual ads, the way how they're going to look like. You want to scroll down right here, make sure that you have your Facebook page selected, your Instagram account selected, and then right here you want to click on single image or video, and then upload your actual graphics that you have made. Then once you have uploaded them, you want to go and select them. Also make sure that you optimize the actual, spacing here. Click on next, skip, and basically done. And then right here below, you want to scroll down and you want to include primary text, which is actually going to be the actual ad copy itself for that specific ad. So essentially go ahead and pop that in there. And then as well, if you scroll a little bit down in the description, you want to also include the exact same ad copy that you also just made. Call to action should be learn more. That's going to be the button that they're going to click. And then you also want to include the actual headline itself. And the headline really comes down to your offer. Once again, whatever is your irresistible offer, you want to pretty much include it right here. And then also go ahead and add a couple of additional variations to it as well. So here's a couple examples that I made. You can use similar concepts right here as well. And then the other thing right here as well is you want to scroll down where it says instant form, and you want to actually click on this button to create your instant form that you're going to be running for this specific ad. Once you click on it, it's going to open up a window like this, and then you want to obviously name your instant form. So I'm going to name it as a YouTube video example, but you want to go ahead and name it, based on what the offer is, and also include a date when you created that specific instant form. Then the form type is going to ask you what type of form do you want to set up. I go for more volume first. You can also go for higher intent, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for them to actually fill out the form, but more volume is what I usually recommend at the very, very beginning. After that, you click on next, and then it's going to ask you to include a couple of pieces of information, such as the background image. I typically go ahead and I choose this very first variation of it so that it uses the exact same background image that's in the actual ad itself. It's very familiar to them because they already have seen the ad itself, so the same exact image pops up right here as well. And then you want to include the actual greeting right here as well. Here is the typical structure of the greeting that I normally use. In the headline, you actually call out the market once again. And then in the description, you include this piece of information that tells them that fill in your information down below, and we'll go ahead and actually text you more information about how the software works. And from there on out, you just simply click on next. It's gonna ask you to include the actual questions. Now, what questions to include really depends on your niche. For us, for example, as we work with lawyers, the very first question that we ask them is, are you a lawyer/attorney, with a yes or no option? And the second one is we ask them what area of law do they practice. So we have a bit more information about their business. So for you, think of any specific qualification questions you could ask them on the front end, so that once they fill out the form, you can take a look at it and you pretty much have a slight idea what stage they are at with their business. One of the questions you can, for example, have is, in this example, as we're working with roofers in this specific ad campaign right here, we could be asking the very first question, are you, do you run a roofing business that's making above 50 grand a month, for example, right? And then you can come up with another question. I usually like to have about 2 questions in the form, no more than that, so that it's nice and easy for them to fill out. So as an example, we would choose multiple choice here, and I would, for example, ask, are you a roofer making 50K plus per month? And then I've got the option either yes or no. And then I would, for example, include another question. Let's say as an example, we would like to ask them or in other words, which state are you located in, as an example, right? And so then they have the option to actually go ahead and pretty much type out their answer there. Next up, it's going to ask them for their content information. So you can keep this description as it is, honestly, and then you want to have these options right here for them to include their information. Now, what I typically do is I include their first name and their last name as the very first 2 pieces of information, and then after that include their email and their actual phone number. Now, I remove full name because I already get from them the first name and the last name, so I delete that. And the phone number, I make it as mandatory because, we need their phone number to be actually able to call them. After that, you want to click on next. It's going to ask for the privacy policy. And here is where you actually need to include the link to the privacy policy. Now, if you don't have a privacy policy created on your website, then go ahead and create one. You can use ChatGPT to pretty much come up with the actual text that you can go ahead and upload on the privacy policy and then put in the link right here. But for the sake of this video, I'm gonna, include just some dummy domain right here, example.com. And then right here, include the actual name of your agency. And that's really about it. After that, you go ahead and you click on next. And then you want to actually include the last bits of information in this form. Headline saying one last step, and then the description is this right here. And then include this option, go to the website and include a link to your actual landing page. And then the call to action name should be Logspot, because it's the exact same name that's written right here as an example, right? And then that's pretty much it. You after that click on create the form. It's going to populate, and then you will actually have this form set up on this specific ad right here. Now from here now, the other thing that you want to do is you want to include the name of the specific ad that you just made. So for example, for me, it's this, roofer on the roof pointing to the calendar. So I would, for example, write something along those lines: roofer pointing to calendar. Or in other words, you can come up with some other naming structure, whatever is best for you, that's easy to remember. What you want to do afterwards is you want to actually now go ahead and click on these three dots right here, and then click on duplicate, because like you remember, we had to create a couple of ad graphics. We can't just have one being run at the same time. We need to run a couple more so we can test out a couple different angles at the exact same time. So for me, as an example, I've got 4 in total. So what I'm going to do now is I'll go ahead and make a copy of additional 3 so that I've got 4 in total, including the one that I just made. Click on duplicate. Now it's going to go ahead and pretty much get the other ones duplicated as well. And what you want to do in these duplicates is you want to go ahead and change the visual image of the ad to the other creatives that you've made. So I've just went ahead and created the other ones where I kept everything the exact same. The only thing that I changed was the actual visual image that I've made. So you want to do the exact same thing like I mentioned. After this, what you want to do is you want to exit this, go into the ad set level, and this is where you then want to go ahead and duplicate this original ad set the amount of times that your budget essentially allows you to. So for example, as we are running this one at $10 a day daily spend, then let's say if my daily budget would be, as an example, $40 a day, then I would go ahead and make additional 3 copies of this, so that this way in total I've got 4 ad sets that I can be essentially running. Only thing that I want to change in these other ones is the actual targeting. I want to keep everything the exact same, all the ad creatives, everything like that. I just want to change the actual targeting. So for example, in the very first one, we were targeting a roofing contractor. Let's say the second interest that I would like to try out is, as an example, domestic roof construction, as an example, right? So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to copy the name of this. I'm gonna put that right here, delete the copy, where it says copy at the end, and now I've got the second interest targeting put with everything still being the exact same. Now, for you to create the lookalike audiences that I was talking about earlier, what you wanna do is you want to go into All Tools section. In other words, you can just simply click on audiences right here. It's going to pop up this section right here, as you can see, and this is where you then wanna go and click on create a custom audience. And when you click on this, you then want to choose the option where it says customer list. You click on next, and then after that, it's going to ask you to actually go ahead and pretty much upload a list, a CSV file of those leads that you actually have gotten in that list. So you want to include the first name, last name, email, and phone number. So this way, Facebook is able to gather enough information about that lead to find other profiles that are similar to that. So once you do that, it's then basically going to populate. And once you have done that, then you need to click on this button right here that says create a lookalike audience. And then in the section where it says select your lookalike source, you want to find that custom audience that you just have made right now. So me, as an example, I'm going to use this, dummy data right here that I've got. And then it's going to ask you to actually include a country that you want to create this lookalike audience off of. So once again, if you're running the ads in the US, for example, then I recommend to go for the US. And this is where you can then go ahead and create the actual percentages of the lookalike. What I will typically do here is, once again, depends on your budget. So for example, in our case, we have created in total 4 ad sets, where 2 of them are interest targeting, and the other ones I want to keep as lookalike audience as an example. Then what I would do is I would go ahead and create a number of 2. So this way it creates a 1% one and a 1 to 2% one, essentially. Now, the closer it is to 1%, the better in most cases it's going to be, because the closer it is to that actual list of leads that you uploaded, the further out you go, the less it's going to be close to that list that you essentially made. So, you want to test out obviously different percentages, but in either case, go ahead and create the percentages, the amount of percentages that your budget allows basically. And really to do that is, you click on create audience, and then it's going to go ahead and pretty much populate and create the audience. After that, you want to pop back into the actual ads manager, go into your remaining ads that you need to edit. And then right here, where it says the actual interest, make sure that you delete this. And then where it says custom audiences, you click on this and then click on lookalike, and the actual lookalike that you just made is gonna show up right here. So you wanna click on that. So this way it has it selected. And then of course you wanna change the name as well. And the way you change the name is based on what exactly is that percentage of the lookalike, and as well, what is that list about. So for example, if you have a list of booked appointments, then you would obviously call it as lookalike booked appointments. If it's a lead list that you have scraped from Apollo, then you include the name as lead list. And do the exact same thing as well for that remaining fourth ad set. In our case, for example, I would go ahead and choose, the remaining percentage of the lookalike, for example, right? And then I'm gonna change the name as well. So let's say, for example, it's a 1 to 2% lookalike from a lead list, basically. Okay, so this way, I've got these right here ready to go. And really from there on out, what I want to do is I want to go through all of these details once again, make sure everything is selected, the instant forms, maximize number of leads. It's $10 a day spent if that's my budget. The country is selected, the age, the gender, all of this stuff. And then I'm going to go as well and take a look at the ad itself, make sure everything is set up right here properly as well. And if everything is good, then what I do is I pretty much once again go into the ad set level and I click on this green button below that says publish. So this way, all of these ads, you pretty much want to check every single one of them as publish one by one. And once you do that, then after that, the ads are going to go into the review stage. Once they get approved, then your ads are essentially going to be running. Now, the other thing that you want to do from here on out is you want to create a Zapier automation that takes all of these leads and puts them onto a Google spreadsheet and also sends them to your CRM that you might essentially be using. In case if you don't know what Zapier is, it's basically this platform right here where you are able to connect multiple softwares together with it. So go ahead and pretty much create an account here. It's nothing too expensive, only about $30 per month essentially. So go ahead and create an account right there. And so once you are in your account, you can go ahead and create the actual very first Zap. And this is the Zap structure that you want to have. So the very first option is the actual trigger, which is a new Facebook lead that comes in from that specific lead form. So you want to obviously go and log into your Facebook account through the Zapier. It's going to prompt you to log in. Once you do that, then you want to choose the page that you're running the ads from and then the actual form itself. After that, you click on continue and then click on continue once again. And then the other steps right here really should be that you should be sending them to, whatever channel that you want to be using for communication with your team, where you can also get notified right away when a lead comes in, whatever that is, whether it's Discord, Slack, or whatever. So get your account connected right here and then have a message similar to this one being sent right here, as you can see, which basically, includes a first name, last name, email, phone number, and the answers to those qualification questions. And then below right here, the attribution as well, from which specific ad set and which specific campaign that particularly came from. Then obviously send them as well to your CRM platform. So for example, for me personally, I use Go High Level. So I send leads to my Go High Level CRM on my pipeline there. So make sure that you do that as a step as well, and then include all the necessary information right here that you want to send essentially. And lastly, you want to send them to a Google spreadsheet as well, where you pretty much have it as a new spreadsheet row. That's the action step. And then in the spreadsheet, you include all the information that you are getting from that specific lead form itself that we just made. Here's a template of the Google Sheet that I use, for example. So I include the actual date, when a lead comes in, the first name, last name, email, phone number, and as well the answers to the qualification questions, depending on how many you included here. And then as well the attribution from which campaign, which ad set, and which ad the lead came from. And then right here as well, you want to pretty much have a couple of statuses here. For example, for me, we have appointment setters that pretty much call these leads. So, one of the options here that they choose from is the actual name of the appointment setter. Then the actual status of, the dialing, whether they called the lead, it was a no pickup, it was a voicemail, the lead hung up, for example, or whether it was booked appointment as an example. Then also the amount of times that the appointment setter has called the lead. And then the ultimate status at the very end. Did the person book a call and we close the deal? Was it a no-show, for example, or, whatever else that might be. So they essentially would include that here. And then also at the very right, we have the notes as well that appointment setter can include. So you want to send leads to a similar spreadsheet like that as well. So it's very easy for you to log in and take a look at the entire performance of the campaign. Now, if you don't know how to create a high converting landing page, by the way, then here's an example that pretty much I'm using right now myself and that I've seen working really, really well across other niches as well. You have the market color here at the very top, have the actual offer right here, and then have a VSL or a DSL in the very middle. Now, if you don't know what the DSL is, it's essentially a VSL, but transcribed into text format, and then all the information is put into a slideshow where they can go through each slide one by one and actually read it as opposed to listen to it. So you want to test out both depending on your industry, see which one actually works the best. For me, for example, I've seen DSLs working much better than VSLs, but nonetheless, have a VSL here or a DSL. And then below it have the actual calendar included so they can go ahead and book a call from that calendar. Once they have booked an appointment, you want to send them to a thank you page. The entire purpose of the thank you page is to force the consumption of the content, so they are way more nurtured before they open a call with you. But then also it walks them through instructions, how can they ensure that they actually confirm the show up of the appointment. So the very first step here is include a thank you video, thanking them for booking the call, and as well include a bit more information about how you typically help your clients get results so that they can get more nurtured before they open a sales call with you. Include a little bit more information about your story right here as well in the text-based format. And then step 2, explain to them how can they click on I know the sender and yes, I will show up to the appointment button that they have received via email. And then below it include as much social proof as you physically can, case studies, client testimonials. One thing as well, when these leads are coming in and they haven't booked in the appointment yet, you want to send them an email and an SMS automation basically. So here's one, for example, that we have built out for ourselves within, or go high level. When they come in as a lead from filling out that form, as we send them through Zapier to go high level, we then have an SMS and email being sent out to them right away, immediately within the first 1 minute, saying that, hey, so-and-so just saw that you came in from one of our ads, inquiring more about how we can help you achieve XYZ result. Were you able to book in a call yet? And then we wait for 21 hours, send an email, then wait for a little bit more time, send an email, send more emails, send more SMSs, all that stuff, so we can get them nurtured and also prompt them to go ahead and book a call essentially. And then the last thing here is when they actually have booked in the appointment, you have to have your emails and SMSs being sent to them as well to ensure show up and get the Zoom link, and then as well force the consumption of the content even more. So have an email being sent to them right away as they have booked in the appointment with the confirmation Zoom link. Then wait for some time, send an email 18 hours before the sales call begins to include more content in there, and as well, pretty much remind them that the appointment is coming up. And then wait 2 hours before the sales call begins to send an email with some more content and also, reminding them that the sales call is about to happen. And then send an SMS 32 minutes before the sales call begins as another reminder essentially. So that's the process right there. And at the same time, obviously, have an appointment in place as well, who can call these leads as well over the phone to ensure the show up and the consumption of that content that you guys are basically sending to them. So this is the entire structure essentially when it comes down to, going ahead and booking calls with these local businesses using Facebook ads. Like I said, you don't need to have a huge budget to essentially do this. You can start off with as little as $20 to $30 a day, basically. So I hope that you found this video valuable. If you have any questions, then drop them down below in the comments section as well. But other than that, subscribe, like as well, and I'm gonna be seeing you all in the next one.